What's the biggest lie restaurant owners tell themselves before starting a restaurant?
That it's easy. I think a lot of restaurant owners, especially the ones that do not have a background in restaurant industry, they really think that doing restaurants is the easiest job. It's very glamorous, it's going to be.
What do they fail from?
I believe the lack of outreach, marketing. They fail because people don't know that their food is good. No matter how good of a food you're serving, the quality is great. You need to put the word out there. You need to spend on marketing. You need to call bloggers, influencers, whatever it needs to be to let people know that you're open and your food is great. I thought moving would be easier, but it's costing me more than establishing the restaurant itself. I'm surprised.
Oh, is it a lot more expensive than your Bonani outlet?
Definitely, yeah, because it's a bigger size. Gulshan is more expensive per square footage wise as well. And then the service charge is higher. I really thought I would do everything around the same price or slightly higher, but it's costing me almost double. Because we're getting new appliances. I didn't want to use any of the old appliances. But the furniture, from Evviva is moving. So even after a lot of the lemons and the furniture and our design elements moving with us, it's still costing me double than what I had initially spent at Evviva.
Okay, so rent everywhere is a bit messed up, right? I mean, I think some of the people were charging you how much? Over 2 crores down payment. And then
so
they were asking for moving fees.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if I want to get into the details about so normally in Gulshan Bonani, wherever you go, you have to pay a 6 months advance. That takes up the most big chunk of your investment that goes into the deposit. But some places that are really more desirable, they require maybe 1 year or 2 years of deposit. It's up to the landlord's discretion, totally. So there was this one space that was super desirable. There used to be a restaurant there back in the days. And right now the owner started living there, but he did say that for the right price, he will move. And the right price is 2 years upfront payment. So rent being 10 lakhs, 2 years payment is 2.4 crores. Plus moving fees, whatever is going to cost him to move to a different location.
How much is he expecting you to earn? What's your break-even period for that?
I think he wants to give it to someone who has a ton of money,
And doesn't care to break even anytime soon. It's just going to be there permanently.
It's going to be a long-term lease as well, according to him. It'll be a 10-year lease where you can actually even leverage the lease and get loans from the bank, I guess.
Okay. I mean, let's dial it back a bit. I mean, you're moving to Evviva. I mean, you started Evviva couple of years ago. It's been relatively successful, Italian brand, and now you're moving. But let's dial it back a bit of how you actually got started. Should you quit a safe career to open a restaurant?
It depends where your passion lies. My passion was always food. I really liked hosting. I really enjoyed working at a restaurant. I never thought I would take up this path, but I always knew I wanted to do business. Growing up in a traditional brown household, your parents always gave you the option of being a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer, among those lines. Whenever I told my dad, who's also a businessman, that I want to do business just like you, he's like, oh yeah, you can open your own clinic. But I'm not super smart, book smart. And I did do the path of pre-med education. I did biomedical science. I have a degree there, but I was not a bright student where I can go to med school or even qualify for med school. So I didn't even try. I was okay. I graduated. They're happy. I did some science degree. And then between thinking about what to do next, I started working in restaurants and I was like, oh, you know what? This is fun. And I mean, it was paying fairly all my bills. So I was like, okay, let me pursue hospitality. So I was like, well, let me study my postgrad in hospitality, but not culinary arts. Since I was already in a restaurant in the kitchen, I was like, okay, let me study the management part of it because I do want to open a restaurant in the future. That was always a goal. So for me, it was never giving up a career. It was pivoting.
Majority of restaurants that are open today aren't they don't have any culinary background. Do you really need a culinary school to succeed in a restaurant?
I wouldn't say necessarily school, but working in the service industry, in a restaurant, cafe, in any form of customer service, like even sales, I feel like gives you the upper hand to like understand the business of restaurant because it's about the people. So you need to work with people. It's easier if you have some background in food. If you went to school, of course, that's great. So it's not necessary. I think you can just work at a really busy restaurant for a few years and like learn everything. Because in school, they don't really teach you the velocity, the speed. You have a time frame and you can do as you wish, right? There's no, oh, guests are waiting. You have to get this food out in 4 minutes. Like the whole rush and the whole experience of a restaurant, you'll only get at a busy restaurant.
I mean, yeah, that's true. I mean, I went to culinary school as well. I mean, we learned more about food than actually running a restaurant. Yeah, we had like menu engineering, some of the food sciences behind it, but that didn't come into play like, I don't know, like 5 years into working in a restaurant because no one trusts you with doing menu engineering.
Yeah.
Like, who are you? Yeah. So, I mean, some of the stuff was redundant in the beginning.
Yeah.
But they don't teach you any, they make you do the whole internship or a stage in restaurants for you to learn. I think that's where we learned the most.
Yeah. I mean, the stage I did as well, it was, I wouldn't call it I learned the most, but of course, yeah, I got like a different skill that I couldn't get in school, but none of like the management level of like skills. Like nobody was telling me, oh, this is how much sales we did today, or this is how many, like, what our labor percentage was. I think that came like way down the line. Even like in being in the kitchen as a sous chef also, I did not know the numbers because there were head chefs and executive chefs and they were part of that meeting, knowing the food costs and the menu engineering. So when I moved to front of house, that's when I think I got to know more about the business.
No, yeah, right. So working abroad, what did working abroad like teach you that Bangladesh can't?
A lot, actually. So working abroad definitely gives you a different perspective of how things are done in an international standard way, because globally, everyone does follow the French hierarchy of cuisine. There's a whole chain of command that you have to follow. In Bangladesh, I have not really seen that unless you're in hotels. In restaurants, it's a bit relaxed. It's a bit like, okay, yeah, you're doing multiple tasks. You're the chef as well, and you're the cook as well, and you're the prep chef as well. So there's a lot of wearing different hats and the technicalities, the food handlers and like, what temperature things have to be. Those you don't really learn over here. Like, it's just, oh, you know what, the food has to be cold. But if you ask someone at what temperature it has to be, they don't know. What's the safe zone? What's the red zone? You don't learn that, at a restaurant, at a traditional restaurant in Bangladesh. Maybe you will learn that abroad because those are the fundamentals. Even like with steak, what I've seen my like cooks do, they don't temp the steak. They like touch it and they like, oh, it's medium rare. And that's why we get steaks so wrong in Bangladesh, because temping is, I think, super important. Like, you have to be technical when you're cooking. It is science after all. You can't play with that, to be honest. So
yeah. Okay. I mean, what do you think the biggest lie is people believe about becoming a restaurant owner?
That it's so glamorous and, it's so easy and you're going to have like, customers coming in all the time and you're going to be like a superstar or something. I don't know. I mean, it's not as glamorous. I mean, it might be if you're one of the silent investors and you're just like putting in the money. But if you're an employee at your own company and if you're working as well, then yeah, you're working around the clock, you're working the most. And money doesn't come easy. A lot of people think that it's really profitable because people are never going to stop eating. But since we have so many options, people are also very mindful of where to put their money. So you have to be very, I think, strong about what cuisine you're doing. And, the concept has to be clear.
A bit more personal. What did your family say when you chose restaurants over a real career?
So I had to warm them up slowly because at first I started working at a restaurant and then Didn't have any much say. I think when COVID hit and I lost my job because all the kitchen staff were let go, it was just like the skeletal system, basically. If also restaurants were closed, so the few months we were under lockdown, that's when like I started having the conversation with my family that, okay, this wouldn't have happened if I had my own restaurant. I would have done takeout. I would have pivoted this way. I do want to open a restaurant. And during COVID is when I started like prepping them that I do want to open a restaurant. And I think we should pick the location which is safe for me to play with.
I mean, before building it or before starting anything, what was your no turning back moment?
Like the day I landed in Bangladesh, I was like, oh, I'm never working here. I don't want to. I've heard horror stories about the work culture here. And I didn't even want to work in a restaurant setting because I know the things that I've learned. I mean, maybe I have a big ego and I'll be like, I know better than you guys. So I didn't want to go the route of working in a hotel or a restaurant here and then opening a restaurant. I'm like, let's just open. I'll learn as I go. So yeah, as soon as I signed the lease, it was like no turning back.
Okay, so what's one decision in your early career that changed everything?
So in my early career, like I started working in restaurants from fast food. So it was like Subway, Quiznos, Popeyes, and then I moved up to like bars and pubs. So they were not very focused on the culinary side. A lot of things were just, prepackaged microwave foods or French fries and, just things you don't really need the skill for. Anyone can do, heat and serve, basically. So around that time when I was working at this like bowling alley, I decided to just polish my LinkedIn for some reason. And it was not a practice that a lot of young chefs were doing. Like you normally in the industry, you get the job word of mouth, or you see postings and you apply, do a stage. But LinkedIn was really less used. So I started using LinkedIn and I got reached out by this like new Italian restaurant that was opening. And the owner had messaged me saying, hey, we're looking for new talent. Do you want to come stage? And I was like, okay, I didn't even know what stage was. So I was like, okay, I'll come by. So yeah, I didn't even know what a stage was. I went in there and there were this other girl who came from a culinary background, from a culinary school. So I really thought that she was going to get this position because she came from a culinary school and I did not. But then I got hired. So I asked the chef, why me? So when the chef hired me, I was really surprised. And his answer was that he can mold me the way he wants me to like be, rather than someone knowing it all from culinary school.
I mean, when you started, why Italian and not something safer?
For me, Italian was safe because I was very comfortable cooking Italian food. I worked in Italian kitchens, front and back both, for like 6+ years. So I was like, okay, I know everything about pasta, pizza, somewhat, but I know and I really love the culture of Italian food, how they cook everything from scratch and the whole, passing down the recipes. So it was really, for me, it felt safe. And I also think it's safe because everyone globally does know pizza pasta. They might not know the authenticity of it, but that's where I was like, okay, I want to teach people that pizza comes from Italy and the story behind it and the tradition behind it. And same thing with pasta. I wanted people to have something different than your prepackaged dry pasta.
All right. So before opening, like how did you test demand for Italian in Dhaka without spending a fortune?
So internet was my best friend. I went on Google. I would check the reviews of different Italian restaurants, their pictures, what people were saying about. Even on Foodpanda, if you go, you can see how many reviews each restaurant gets. So you can kind of gauge the volume, the demand that a certain restaurant has. And I did see a gap. I was like, okay, there are Italian restaurants, but they are basically like doing basic Italian food. They're not doing regional Italian, where I was like, okay, let me do something different. I really love open fire cooking, wood-fired cooking. So I wanted wherever I wanted the brick pizza oven that was like a non-negotiable. So I did my research and I found someone who was making it, and I was like, okay, you know what? Let's fill the gap.
Yeah. So, I mean, Dhaka doesn't do a lot of things good, right? So, what did Dhaka already do badly that you knew you could do better?
Plating. Like I was like, every picture I saw, I was like, why? Like the same items on the plate can be just placed differently with a few little extra garnishes and it will look so much better. I feel like they were just so redundant with like the sides they were giving, the whatever the plating looked like. It was very generic. I was like, okay, it's the day and age of Instagram, Facebook, whatever. People eat with their phones first. They want Instagrammable food. So I wanted to really give good food that tasted good and also looked good. So that was something I think I did right.
Did you design Evviva more for locals or for someone that's already been to Italy?
Oh, it was mostly for people who have been to Italy or people who are curious to know and like adapt to like Italian food. I didn't want to do local. I didn't want to localize it. I did have a few people telling me, oh, let's put some more spices in the bolognese, or they would suggest various things to Banglafy it, I guess. But I was like, no. If it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. But this is how I'm going to plate it. I'm going to try to keep it as close to authentic as possible. But also, it's hard to do over here, being fully authentic. But yeah, it was more for a subtle palate.
Okay. So wait, what makes you such an authority figure of if it's something's authentic or not? Did you work in Italy before this?
So I did a brief stunt, like that internship that we speak about, right? So I did work. It was all pasta. I learned how to make gnocchi, fresh pasta, at this like family restaurant. And so that's where I was like, okay, I'm so passionate about pasta. I wanted to show Bangladesh, like there's different shapes other than fettuccine and spaghetti. There's like this whole area of like handmade pastas that you can do. So that was like my main thing that I saw that Dhaka wasn't doing, like different kinds of pasta. It was always spaghetti and like the macaroni noodles, like the basic ones.
Right. I mean, so wait, where did you exactly work?
I was in the south of Italy, Palermo, the city. It's a small city, but it's a small like mom and pop shop. Like our school had a bridge program. So there were a few other students with me as well where we did the Italian program. So, I mean, we were students, so we didn't get to explore the city as much. Like, as I think, like, in hindsight, if I did that again, I would have more money and I would, like, explore on my days off. But it was less explorative. Yeah.
Yeah. People who've worked abroad, lived abroad. So, but then why Dhaka and not Toronto or Dubai? It's so much easier.
So I did explore when COVID hit. I was thinking about Toronto. I did have a small business in Toronto, like a food truck. So I know how expensive Toronto can get. And like, we didn't really make any money on that food truck business. So I was very skeptical. I'm not sure if I want to do Toronto. There's at least $1 million I would probably need from either the bank or a personal fund, and all the having family help as well helps. I was all alone in Toronto. So my family lived in Qatar, and I decided, my dad also suggested, why not Qatar? But then what trend I saw in Qatar or in the Middle East is that if you do something well, someone else is going to do it better than you, someone with more money, and going to eat you up. So as I'm not going to take the risk where someone local in Qatar is going to like copy my business model and do it better than me. Why Dhaka?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I've never lived in Dhaka, so it was always like, oh, I want to live here once in my life before like going back to Canada or whatever, before like thinking about my long-term future.
All right. Okay. So how niche do you think is too niche for a city like Dhaka?
Dhaka is not ready for a niche. To be honest, like, I remember I did a vegan mushroom soup and people were like, oh, this doesn't have cream. I'm like, yes, it's vegan. Like, it says roasted mushroom soup. I didn't write cream of mushroom, but people kept asking, cream kom hoise, butter kom hoise. And I'm like, does it say on the ingredient list? Like, I mean, I really wanted to go and ask them, like, does it say on the ingredient list? Because I put roasted mushroom soup and I even put a V sign on it saying vegan with the legend, and people kept wanting cream. So then we had to, of course, give them what they wanted. So that was an eye-opening for me that, okay, Dhaka is not ready for niche vegan or gluten-free items. You're just going to waste your time and waste your ingredients.
Yeah. I mean, so what did you get wrong about Dhaka's taste for Italian?
There were a few dishes that I just personally wanted to put on the menu because I loved them. But then they were also well loved by Dhaka. Like, for example, our octopus salad. I didn't think octopus was highly consumed here. Like, I tried to feed my mom and my mom's like, no, I'm not eating that stuff. So, but when I put that on the menu, I saw a lot of young eaters ordering that dish a lot, and because it's a pretty dish and they're curious about how the octopus was cooked. Because, you know, it's quite a process to cook the octopus right. So, and then I really thought I would get more complaints about the pizza being burnt or the cheese being less. We do get that every now and then, but I think people are getting more and more open about the different styles of pizza and the different cuisines around the world. And yeah, I'm happy that there's a whole like wood-fired pizza trend now.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't really remember who started it, but you were definitely there.
Yeah. I mean, I saw someone else do it, and I reached out to that guy, and like then he built all the pizza ovens now. Like, all the restaurants have pizza oven made by him. So, and I found him on Facebook while I was in Canada.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. But
Okay.
now you can get it on the streets as well. Wood-fired pizza.
So when starting a restaurant, I mean, not a lot of people, first-time restaurant owners, don't have an idea on how to actually build something. They don't have the proper business plan going, right? So let's go into like from idea to game plan, like how the business plan looks and like the preparation of it. So how much does it really cost to open a restaurant from scratch?
It's a pretty wide answer, because something like Evviva, yeah. I can only talk about a casual dining setting. Food carts separate, fast food separate, but something like Evviva in Gulshan is going to be the highest. But if you go somewhere a bit more south or like different parts of Dhaka where the rent is much cheaper, you might spend half the amount that I spent. Because the biggest, like I said, is the deposit, the biggest expense. So if your rent is cheap, your deposit is also lower. And then also depends on if you're getting used products like appliances, or you're getting them new, or you're getting them custom made. There's like a whole like range. If you're getting them imported, you're paying the most premium. And then there's also ship breaking yards here in Bangladesh, where you can go and you can actually pick out really good appliances that are from the ship actually. So, yeah, so you can be anywhere from 50 lakhs to 8 crores. That's the range. But I would say like 2 crores is a good amount to have to run and operate for 6 months, like do the interior and operate for like 6 months before you start seeing some positive money, I guess.
Okay, I mean, that's your CapEx and running, basically. Your CapEx and your OpEx.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, talking about leases. So before signing a lease, what's one thing restaurant owners should really calculate?
I think all the lease terms and the price adjustments year by year, because it's how you negotiate, right? I like having a longer lease term and also like a exit clause, where I can exit with like prior notice. Because if you don't have proper clauses where you can exit, you're going to lose the deposit. The deposit is actually refundable. Basically, it comes off from your last 6 months of rent. Say you give them a 6 months heads up that, hey, I'm not going to continue any further. stop paying rent to you, just they cut it from a deposit. So that, and how often are they going to increase the rent, by what percentage, those are really important.
When building this, right, what's the biggest mistake you made before opening Evviva?
A lot of people told me not to be on the 6th floor. And I was like, why not? Like, I mean, you take the elevator up to the rooftop, you can take the elevator up to the 6th floor. Like, but that's crazy how like restaurants on the ground level and the rooftop do way better than the restaurants in the middle. And a big demand is for parking spaces. I thought everyone had a driver. I'm like, who needs parking? Like, you know, everyone has a chauffeur, but a lot of people self-drive. So having adequate amount of parking and a smoking zone. That's like the most asked question. I'm like, oh, do you guys have a smoking zone? And when we say no, they just don't want to come to the restaurant. So those 3 things I didn't really consider, because for me, those were really foreign. I never had to think about parking, what floor I am, and you know how much smoking zone or balcony I have. So those are the things I think is important. It helps if you have them.
Right. So how long did it take from idea to opening? And like, where did you lose the most time?
So since I was new in Bangladesh, I lost the most time like hiring, because most people know somebody who's helping them with the restaurant, and they can be like, hey, can you help me get this person? So I did go that route as well. I reached out to a lot of people and I was like, oh, I need help hiring. But I didn't know exactly what I'm looking for, because the recipes are all mine. I'm the chef basically, and I'm hiring another head chef to manage the day-to-day operations. So I didn't know exactly what I was looking for. I'm like, what skills am I looking for? What resume, like background I was looking for? Like, I didn't know if this skill set or this restaurant is good where they're coming from. So hiring took a long time, hiring and training.
Right. But so the first part of it, like how long did it take from idea to opening?
So before I even signed the lease, I had the menu ready. Like during COVID, I was like, okay, I'm going to do an Italian restaurant. These are the 4 or 5 names I have in my mind. This is the menu, what the menu is going to look like. So I knew exactly what theme I'm going for. I'm doing Southern Italian, what decor I wanted. I had a full idea. I even have a video I was going through the other day, actually yesterday, of me visiting the site for the first time. And I'm like, oh, wow, I can make a lemon tree here. And I'm like literally telling my brother that, oh, this space is going to be great. I can do my office here. I can do a lemon tree here. And we did that, right? You know, I knew exactly I wanted lemons and I needed an office and all that. So the construction part, of course, takes a long time. And if you don't have a running kitchen, like you don't get to test your recipes anywhere. So you have to wait till actually the construction is done and then you start testing. So it can be anywhere. Like I did testing for 2 whole months. And then I think we improved as we opened as well. Like once we opened, we took customer feedback and it took us a whole year to actually take in the feedback and give the customers what they wanted. So, but this time around, I already have a kitchen. So I'm doing the testing already. Like Evviva is just moving. We're changing a few recipes. We've already tested those. And even, yeah, for our future brands, we have a test kitchen. So idea was formed, like I said, during COVID. But if you actually consider the day I landed in Bangladesh, I signed the lease 3 months after that. So it took me 6 months to open the restaurant. So July, and I opened in December.
Okay, so before opening the actual restaurant, what did your pre-opening to-do list look like for the past 30 days?
So for the past 30 days, you have to get all the compliances ready, all your licenses, your SOPs, all your agreements that you have basically for your staff. I had it. Let me pull it up. So all the checklists for the managers, all their contact information, setting up the POS machine, so all the point of sale, all the computers, your CCTV cameras. So basically the safety, security, the compliance, fire license. Those are like the things that you're doing 30 days prior to opening.
So how long does it take in Bangladesh to get a trade license?
It depends, business to business. Since you're a restaurant, you need prior compliances before you can apply for a trade license. And right now it's fire safety. So you need to be fire compliant. Someone's going to come do a survey of the place, get the whole map of your building and your floor as well. And then they submit for fire approval. And once you get the fire approval, that's when you can apply for a trade license. But before you apply for a trade license, you have to register the name to like figure out if this name is taken or not. So, and then you apply for trade license. That takes anywhere between 7 to 2 weeks, 7 days to 2 weeks. Yeah.
You already built it once and you moved once, right? So for a first-time restaurant owner, what would you simplify if you were planning Evviva again?
What would I simplify? I would say hire your management staff first. Like even if you have to pay them for 2 months, I think that really helps. Yeah, hiring. Because when I first opened Evviva, I was doing everything on my own. And this time I'm not. I have management who's doing the hiring. I have social media, like a query manager who answers all the queries. So I can focus on the other side of the functionality of the restaurant. So it's really important you have those manager hired first, and the chef, if you're taking a chef, of course, hired first, so they can hire the kitchen staff and the front of house staff. So you don't have to like meddle in that because they are going to be working with them after all. So it's best that they hire them.
Just going back to the legal stuff, like, so what was involved in getting a restaurant legally set up in Dhaka? Like the trade license, the food safety certificates, etc. Or did you already answer that? Is that the same thing?
It's kind of the same thing, but there's more to it. Of course, like every establishment needs different things. There's also the health and safety for each and every employee. So they're disease-free, you get that renewed every year. So that, what else? Fire, I spoke about. Then you have to be compliant with NBR. You have to get your devices set up in a way that you're automatically paying the tax online. You don't have to, do the math and, get it done, basically.
Okay. Let's get into about actually building Evviva, a bit on the space and the atmosphere, like a bit more on the design side, right? So how much did the interior actually cost, and which part was the most expensive?
Interior, most expensive, I would say it all depends. Say if you get a space that already comes with flooring, then you don't spend a lot on floor. But say it's like a whole barren space, or you want to change the flooring takes a lot, like a huge amount. And then I would say the plumbing system, the gas lines, whatever the water lines are, those and the electricity, the electric lines are the most expensive, I would say, because the space comes empty. You don't have the wirings. So to put a socket here, a socket there, and the kitchen gets the most amount of sockets, and they have to be the right, I don't know the technical word, but the right, RPM or something. That's what it's called, like the voltage that they take. If it's something like a blender, you need a high voltage socket, basically. That's special. And for a refrigerator, you don't spend that much coils of wire. So wiring, costs a lot. Then your furniture would be next. Your coffee machine is really big expense. If you're planning on getting a coffee machine, that can cost 7 to 10 lakhs.
So how much did the interior actually cost?
Interior. So I like to do 50-50. But then what ends up happening is the interior will cost more. But the goal is to keep 50-50. Say if I'm investing 1 crore, I do 50 lakhs in the kitchen, I'll do 50 lakhs for the interior. I wanted to spend a lot on interiors, right? That's why I feel like, okay, 50 lakhs, it might be a lot for someone. Because when I was doing the interior for the first time, my landlord at the Bonani location is like, oh, why are you spending so much on interior? Just paint the place and open it up. I mean, I could have done that if I was a well-known celebrity chef or people knew me, or, I was a Gulshan socialite, but nobody knew me. So my thing was, okay, let me make an Instagrammable restaurant. People are going to come for the photos, pay for the food, and be a repeat customer, right? So for me, that was a non-negotiable. I really wanted to give them a full experience of being in Italy if they're coming to my space.
So when building out the interior, right? So what's the biggest interior design mistake you see new restaurants make?
I think they don't think as a customer. They don't think about the functionality of the restaurant. I mean, if you worked at a restaurant, you would know exactly that you need a service station where the plates will stay, your cutlery is going to stay, your napkins, you know. If a customer is asking for a napkin, I've seen so many restaurants go all the way to the kitchen to get a napkin. And I'm like, I might just wipe it on myself, like, at that point, because I don't need to wait like 3 minutes for a napkin. Like, it better be like, you know, around. So a service station, having a separate host, like a lot of restaurants don't have a host desk. You just like walk into like seats, which I find is, I don't know, really awkward. I mean, not my style of restaurant. I like to have a small little corridor, someone greet them and then get them seated. But that only comes from experience working in a restaurant or going to restaurants, you know. If you're someone who travels a lot, then you've seen how it's operated up internationally.
Instagram and TikTok are quite big today. People are more focused on that when building restaurants, right? So how do you design a restaurant for Instagram without making it cringe?
So I always think of a restaurant, the restaurant should reflect the food it is serving. Hence why the lemon tree, the Evviva's interior being light, airy, very coastal, because we're doing Southern Italian food, so a lot of beach coastal vibes. The same thing, if I did a Thai restaurant, I would do Thai decor. I did a Mexican restaurant, I would have Mexican music playing. So I think a lot of restaurants just like something on Pinterest and they're like, okay, I want these LED lights in my restaurant, but it doesn't even go with the food. It doesn't go with the theme of the restaurant. So it's very important to stay away from trends and really go back to like, oh, is it going to reflect the food I'm serving?
So what 3 design decisions like make guests stay longer and spend more time?
I mean, you, as a restaurant owner, you wouldn't want the guests spending like too long time. You want to flip the tables, but say if you want them to stay and like order a lot, then you need good interactive waiters who can get them to like get another dessert or a coffee, upsell them. But it all ends up being the vibe of the place. I have seen personally that Bangladeshi diners are always in a rush. So it's easy to flip tables, but they're also in a rush to like, oh, I ordered the food, where's my food after like 10 minutes? Like if they're cooking from scratch or if you're making your food fresh, it's going to take a bit longer, I guess. To get them to spend more, you have to have good staff, good waiters.
I think Hessen from the Fat Tech, he said something similar, I think earlier on, when he didn't get the 3 stars, like where initially I don't think he got 3 stars, but then later he focused on more on like the customer experience of it. And then people spoke about it more and the experience was better. I mean, so it's more, it definitely is more experience. I think food can sometimes be secondary.
Exactly. I recently went to
when
this
having
restaurant.
someone to come back, yeah.
Yeah. I think you like this restaurant. It's a ramen place. It's called Hiroshi Ramen. It's new. Their food is really good, but my ramen, they forgot about my ramen. Like all my friends' food came and I was like, where's my ramen? And then they were like, oh, it's going to take 20 minutes. And I'm not waiting 20 more minutes. Just take it to go. And I really loved the food when I had it at home. And I was like, but will I go back to that restaurant? They forgot my food. It was a slow service. So I think food is secondary. You want a wholesome experience.
Yeah, I mean, especially it's really important for higher end, like mid-tier to higher end restaurants to focus more on like the customer experience. It's not like a QSR, like a quick service restaurant. It's not fast food. You're not getting a burger. You're not going in and out. It's like you want to be taken care of, right?
Yeah.
If you're not, you can hold many grudges.
Exactly. And I've seen this in Bangladesh. Like even my staff do it, and I've told them not to do it. I'm like, the customer is always right. Like if they say they didn't like it, but my staff's like, oh, but they ate half the pizza, so we're gonna give them a 50% off. I'm like, No, they didn't like it. Fine, they ate it because they were hungry. Just comp the whole thing. Like, is it going to be that big of a difference if I charge them 50%? They're still going to have a bitter experience that they didn't like it. They communicated that and they still had to pay half. So I think always make them happy.
Also, that'll get them to come back, even though you messed up a bit. Like everything else could have been fine except for that one thing. But if you just make up for it somehow, they'll come back the next time. Versus like if you were just rude about it, they're not going to come back.
Yeah. I remember this one time this customer complained like a fly flew into their coffee and I was like, oh, I can't control the fly. Like I literally went up to the customer saying, I can't control the fly, I'm sorry. And she complained to Bhatka Adhikar, like, whatever, this like the municipality that I said that. Like, and I got I got a court hearing that I had to go and like, why did I say I can't control the fly? So I sent my manager and I was like, go deal with this. Like I said the truth. I can't control where the fly is going to sit. But
what
yeah,
the
sometimes
fuck?
I'm very snappy with the customer. Like, and that's why I'm like, okay, I have a manager who's a bit more customer friendly. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, right. Okay, and today for any restaurant, seats equals revenue. So how did you decide how many seats you needed?
So I have always been used to big restaurants, like 100, 300, like multi-floor restaurants. So I always thought I want a big restaurant, but of course that costs more money. So in my head, I was like, okay, 50 is a good number. Anything less than that, I feel like it's too small. Anything more than that, I can handle it, but I feel like I want to be moderate with the seating for sure. And so I always had in my mind 50 to 60, let's try to aim for that. But I also want the restaurant to feel open and not claustrophobic. So in Bonani, the Evviva we have two other restaurants in the same building. One restaurant has 100 plus seats in the same floor space. Another restaurant has 40 seats. So I was like, oh, wow, look at the difference, right? So I want to be somewhere in the middle. So I was like, okay, let's keep it open. It should feel private, but open at the same time.
When designing the restaurant menu, right? So did you design for lunch, dinner, or Instagram first?
So I thought about the core menu. I was like, this is what I want on the menu. And when we go for R&D and we start plating, I was like, okay, Instagram first. So it has to look pleasing to the eye. It has to be like, okay, let me take a picture of this like pretty dish. So I always had Instagram in my mind, even designing the restaurant, designing the colors, even where I put the lemon tree. I was like, okay, you know what? It has to be facing the window because you get the natural light from the window. So the pictures are going to look really nice. At my Bonani location, it was by the window. So yeah, you would get like really harsh light, which is not that great for photos. So I always think about how is it going to look on camera? Also with plates, I feel like I don't like glossy plates because when you do flash photography, it reflects. So I always go for matte plates.
All right, okay. I mean, try to help like someone who's building a restaurant, right? I mean, today, right? So if a restaurant owner who only had $50,000 to spend on design, where should they spend it?
They should design it themselves. I don't think they should hire a firm because they're going to charge you the design fee. There's a lot of added fees that goes into it. But if you have a basic idea of the functionality of a restaurant, then I think you should do it on your own. But if you don't have the idea, then I just do a lot of research because 50,000 is quite less, but still doable. I would suggest them to go to it's called Bhatiari, the space in Chittagong, where the shipbreaking happens, and they can get really good appliance. You can get a really nice combi of oven, like almost brand new, rational ovens, really good refrigerators. I mean, they're used by these like massive ships. Sometimes you can even find spare products. So all these ships, they have a spare coffee machine that's like intact in a box. So you can get lucky and get really cheap imported product.
Got it. I mean, okay, let's moving on to more of the actual menu of it, like authenticity versus adaptation, like in the cuisine. So, should you cook for Italy or for Dhaka?
I think a bit of both. There could be certain dishes that are super authentic, and then you can have a few dishes that are safe. And with my experience, I feel like the safe dishes do get ordered a lot more than the authentic dishes.
So, what's one authentic Italian dish that completely flopped at Dhaka?
One authentic Italian dish. Okay, so I love pasta and pasta vongole. It's made with clams. I love it. It's honestly a very simple dish, just clams and like lemon juice, simple parsley, garlic. And that totally flopped. Because first of all, my chefs didn't know how to handle clams. They were really vigorous with it. So when they were tossing the pasta, they would break the shell and then you would get like random bits of the shell while eating, and that's so unpleasant. So that flopped. I mean, I would get so many complaints from friends and even from customers that, oh, there's something in my pasta, and we would tell them that it was the shell. Even if I deshelled it, it would be broken throughout. It would feel sandy. So that completely flopped. I took it off the menu.
You've been running for a couple of years. So, but now, like, where do you secretly bend the rules for Italian food for the Bangladeshi palate?
I think I will probably bring back some dishes that didn't work. I feel like now Bangladesh is a bit more ready for different, like a zucchini pasta, for example. When I did it first, it completely flopped. Another dish, you know? People are like, oh, I'm having a vegetable pasta, but I feel like zucchini is also being grown locally so much. People are more aware of this vegetable, and seeing it on an Italian menu is more acceptable now. So I would try to bring back a few dishes that did not work, and hopefully they will work this time. I think it's important to educate people on the dish, which a lot of restaurants don't do, be it through social media or through your service, through your waiters, that what this dish is, and convince them to have it.
Right. I mean, going over the menu, so what are 3 dishes that actually pay the bills?
So, pizza. The biggest selling dish on my menu is the pizza. People love the pizza crust. The wood-fired pizza oven is well loved. I did not think it would be pizza. I always wanted it to be a pasta restaurant, but it became the pizza restaurant. I think pizza, it's easy to share and a very familiar dish, right? So that really pays the bill. And then this dish that I do is the 99-layer lasagna. And it's not traditional lasagna at all. It's this massive stack of lasagna that I cut in a thin slice and I plate it sideways. People love that dish. Like, there are days where I'll sell 100 of those. That pays the bill. The third dish is actually the most generic dish. You will find that in every restaurant. It's a pesto chicken pasta. And that's the dish. I didn't want to put it on my menu. Italians don't eat chicken with pasta. So I was like, but, you know, I'm making a restaurant for Bangladesh, and that is one dish that I find in most Italian restaurants. So I was like, let me just put it on the menu. And it's the bestseller pasta.
Oh, yeah, right. That's interesting. Because some of the restaurants I work with, I mean, one of the taco restaurants I work with, they had, I don't know, initially they had like 16 different tacos, whatever. But then later on, as soon as they introduced birria into it, it did quite well. It was like 20% of the revenue. But then when you did birria in platter form with the other tacos, that collection of SKUs, I think made up 60% of the revenue in the first like 60 days. So I mean, what I'm trying to say is people like variety in like, people like not thinking. They like having everything just given to you without you having to plan out anything. So that platter form over 60% revenue in the first like 60 days. It was slightly bonkers.
That is what a set menu is, you know? People ask for set menu when they come to a restaurant. Like, aapne the set menu asked? And I'm like, you can make one yourself. But I think that's something I might do for lunch, especially because we have such a corporate area wherein people look for things being served to them without making the decision. So we'll have a few set lunch platters, you can call, and that will already have a half a pasta, half a sandwich, whatever, you know, we'll have a few options. But yeah, people love variety and things served to them.
Yeah, I always wonder why you didn't have some kind of set or even a tasting. Because the problem I find with Italian restaurants is the food is like Italian people love to feed. So whatever you're getting fills you up, or it can even serve two. So then, but that hurts your AOV because you're full of that one dish. You can't order multiples. So it's like, why don't they just like reduce the size and put in a tasting? Because what I've noticed with I can't say 100%, but definitely over 90% of any fine dining restaurant, it's tasting menus. They don't do the a la carte is there. It's a bigger portion, but hardly people order it. So something you can do, definitely a tasting.
Yeah, or like a prefix.
Sure. I mean, smaller portions, but then more courses. That's perfect for dates, because as soon as the dates night, as soon as they sit down, they know they can just they don't have to think, and they'll get the six course tasting menu. And that'll drive your AOV.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I would love to do a tasting menu, even like something longer than 6, maybe like go all the way 9. But yeah, I think
pushing
I think
it,
I'll start small, maybe 3 and 5. Like
for lunch, 3 and 5 for lunch, and then a bit larger for dinner. I think you can really push. You can do the whole like 10,000-12,000 Dhaka tasting menu if you actually try it.
Per person or shared between two?
It could be shared. I'll say 12,000 shared.
Because there's this one restaurant that did a tasting menu.
Okay.
So they did like a per person like 5,000 Dhaka tasting menu, and they would get customers come to them like, oh, we're just gonna order one of them and share between two. So then they just bumped up the price and made it like a 2-person thing, because no one's coming to a tasting menu alone, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. I think that also only happens here. I've never seen that abroad where someone comes in for one tasting menu and shares it. So I think in Dhaka, you definitely have to do the whole like all for two, or like, BOGO, like buy one get one, like introduce some kind of. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so how do you decide if a new dish stays or gets killed?
So it depends on the sales for sure. We make a small batch first. I'll give you an example about the lasagna. It's a beef lasagna, but there's a lot of people who don't eat beef. So I had a lot of requests for a non-beef lasagna. I didn't want to do chicken for some reason. I was like, oh, the Italians are going to hate me. So I did a mushroom lasagna. I made small batch of 20. And like only 2 got sold. I had to like literally toss everything out. And I even did an influencer marketing on it. I got the influencers to come and like, you know, talk about the dish, and like crickets. I was like, where are these people who wanted a non-beef lasagna? Like, so we killed it right away. So yeah, we cut that off immediately. But then there are some dishes that I'm like a bit like, I want to keep this dish. It's like so personal to me, even though if it doesn't sell.
So wait, so how do you actually check this? How can a restaurant owner double check like what's working and what's not? Like how often do you do menu engineering?
I don't do it as often as I should. I'll probably do it quarterly, every 3 to 4 months. But I think it's important to do it monthly. And moving forward, I will do it monthly because, you know, we do the monthly inventory, weekly inventories, right? So it's, I think, yeah, restaurant owners should go into their point of sale and hopefully it is, I mean, you have to be very clear with your staff as well that they have to punch the right things. You know, they don't just say add shrimp and then go tell the kitchen, no, it's add chicken. You know, they have to punch the right thing, void the right things, and that way you have an idea of like what's getting sold the most. Most POS systems have a back-end data system where they will give you a graph or a pie chart and even just the numbers of how many of a certain item got sold. So you can check item-wise, you can check group-wise. So I checked that. That's the way I checked.
So how many dishes do you think is too many for a restaurant like yours?
Like mine, too many. I honestly think my menu is really big. I mean, I would have done a much smaller menu, but I've heard people be like, oh, that's it? That's the menu? Like they would turn 4 pages and they're like, oh, that's it? Because I think they're so used to such massive menus. There's a lot of restaurants that have multi-cuisines. You know, they have Italian, Chinese, intercontinental, whatever, continental, all in like one restaurant. So they're very used to a bigger menu. So I think my size is perfect. Some people might think it's really small, but you have to also think how many dishes is like the use of ingredients has to be all over the menu. Like say I'm using eggplants in one dish, I might use it for multiple dishes. That way I'm maximizing that ingredient. So.
All right. So how many dishes do you currently have on the menu?
Currently, I only have 5 red pasta, 5 white pasta. Oh, sorry, pizzas. Like I have 10 pizzas on the menu. So 5 white-based and 5 red-based. But I've seen menus like Brio has 21. Like I was like, wow, that's massive. But it's easy to do with pizza. It's just toppings, right? Even when I look at my pasta, I have like over 10 pasta dishes, which normally you go to an Italian restaurant in North America, you might not see that many pasta dishes. You might see like 6 or 7.
So, I mean, let's get into some pricing. So do you price emotionally or mathematically?
A bit of both. Maths, of course, is really important. You have to reach that target food cost. There's a whole formula, you know. We want to be around 30%, below 30%, of course, because also you have to account for wastage. So you try to keep it 30%. But then there are some dishes where you can probably keep 20%. And then there's some dishes where the food cost is 40%. So overall, it just has to balance. And then there are high ticket like items, like high profitable items, like your drinks, your desserts. So you have to upsell those. So, and then there are dishes that are completely emotional, like the salmon dish. I don't make a lot of money. Like a heavy steak dish, the profit margin is less, but it's a dish I want people to enjoy.
So what was the moment you realized if you don't fix the menu, like the food cost, this restaurant dies?
So for me, that moment was when like the price of goods were increasing, right? The inflation was going up, and I was like, either I have to downsize, like, you know, I have to reduce the portion sizes or change the menu prices. And since I was already a really new restaurant, changing the prices within the first year of opening would take people back. Also, I was getting a lot of comments online that my food is priced really high, but I was tired of justifying why it was high as well. Like I was using a lot of imported products and our dollar rate was just going up every month actually at that point. So I was okay, rather than justifying why my food is costing so much, I started moving vendors. I started using local products, for example, cherry tomatoes. I sun-dried cherry tomatoes first, and then I started sun-drying local tomatoes. I was like, once they're dried, no one's gonna know it's cherry or sun-dried or like in local. So I started doing that, and then I switched my cheese vendor a few times. Nobody really complained when we switched from bocconcini to mozzarella. They're pretty much the same cheese. Once they melt, it's cheese. And then, yeah, buying things locally rather than say like big name vendors. Big name vendors will of course charge you the premium. They're giving you premium products, but if you have local vendors that you have vetted yourself, you can get the same quality or even better quality from them. You can even negotiate a price. You can negotiate your payment terms. So that's really important to get the right vendors.
Right. I mean, so when costs went, I mean, like you said, costs went up overnight. Like, did you change the recipes, shrink the portions, or raise the menu prices?
For some dishes, I did shrink the portion and but I would bulk up elsewhere. Like, we made fresh pasta, so I would give them more pasta, maybe give them less chicken. But I mean, chicken never raised in price, but say our dish had balsamic, like our bolognese had balsamic vinegar. I would switch the balsamic vinegar to just have apple cider vinegar or whatever is a bit cheaper, gives the same flavor profile without really hindering the core of the dish. I would try to buy the local produce and stock up on the local produce. For example, we do have local celery. Like right now in the winter months, you're going to get them. So I would buy them in bulk, process them, freeze them, because I use them in mirepoix anyway. So you can defrost and use them later on. Same thing with broccoli. When you get local broccoli, I process them and freeze them so that I can use them throughout the summer months when I have to buy broccoli imported. So those are certain things I would do to make sure that I'm getting the seasonal products and storing them, preserving them.
Right. Okay, getting your products, right? So what's the biggest mistake restaurant owners make when negotiating with suppliers?
I think the biggest mistake they do is they don't shop enough. Is you really have to shop around and then also be very diligent. Like, they might tell you this price one day and then sneakily just bump up the price. So you have to always check your purchases and you have to like double check it with the market that, okay, yeah, onions are supposed to be this price. Am I getting the right price? This is the standard price for a certain item. So you have to always double check with the local markets. The price can go up anytime. Also, when vendors, what they do is they might say, I've noticed this with like fish, it comes frozen, so, some fish. So there's a lot of ice. So I tell my vendors, I'm going to defrost it and then I'm going to weigh it. It has to be 2 kgs. It can't be 1.8. So that's where they like try to, finesse you.
Right. I mean, okay, so going back to some of the costing, I mean, do you track food costs dish by dish or just hope the overall numbers work?
Dish by dish. And we also, recently we started, like for this new restaurant, we started accounting for the packaging as well, because packaging does cost money. Sometimes we're losing more money in takeout orders because we're spending so much on packaging, right? So we started accounting for packaging cost for dine-in as well, because sometimes guests will come, they can't finish a pizza, they're still taking a pizza box home, right? So I think that would eat up a bit of our cost here and there. And so yeah, it's very important to even calculate the amount of oil is being used, which my kitchen didn't do before. Especially for deep fried items, right? They would cost the frito misto just as is, and I'm like, guys, where's the oil? So, yeah, those are little mistakes we did for costing that we're not doing again.
Right. Okay. I mean, so what's one cost-cutting move you made that your guests never noticed?
Should I say this? I don't know. So initially I used to cook with olive oil a lot. I used to use olive oil very diligently, like everywhere. And then I stopped using olive oil. I was like, you know what? The guest is not going to know that. We just use it as a finishing oil. And then I also think the olive oil was not genuine because you are not sure where the olive oil is coming from. They might just flavor it with olives. So it's very important to like make sure you're getting the right olive oil. So that also took us a long time. What else? Cost cutting thing that I did. I fired staff. I downsized my team, like to cost cut. I stopped turning the ACs on unless the guest was there. Then I reduced the portion sizes for certain dishes just by like 10% to account for that 10% increase in like cost of goods. So I think those were, my portion sizes were already so big, so that went unnoticed.
Right. So if a new restaurant in Dhaka can only track 3 numbers, which would you pick?
3 numbers.
So like for a first restaurant owner, like overwhelmed with spreadsheets, like what are 3 numbers that they absolutely must watch weekly if they want to stay alive, kind of?
Purchases for sure, like how much you're purchasing weekly and where is the purchase being done, like segregate them, front of house, back of house, staff food, miscellaneous. You gotta like really be diligent with that. Then your utilities, of course, it's different for different months. Like in the summer months, you're gonna spend more on the AC, and you know, in the winter it's a bit lower. One thing that I totally missed that happened about 2 years ago, my LPG, my gas cost was going up, and I was like, guys, we were spending 40K a month, and why are we spending 60K? It went up by so much. So I called someone and I got the gas lines checked, and we had a leak. So if you don't check those costs and you don't see that trend that it's moving upwards, you have to investigate why is it moving upwards. And it could have been a big accident if I did not check that cost.
Oh, that's what?
Yeah, I had 7 leaks. I had 7 leaks,
That's...
7 tiny leaks. Because it's all the way on the bottom floor. My gas cylinders are on the bottom, and it has to go up 6 floors. So I think because of the weather, wear and tear, whatever, it had little minute like leaks here and there, and we got that fixed. We changed the whole piping, and hopefully it's leak proof. So, but any discrepancy, anything, any upward trend we see, we get it checked.
Okay, so what's one thing owners do to look premium that quietly makes them broke?
Spend a ton on interiors. I know you wanted to hear that.
Do you want to elaborate?
I mean, I feel like restaurants are an experience, but for some people, the food matters. For most people, actually, the food should matter. But it is an experience. If you're going to an Italian restaurant, I believe the interior has to reflect the food you're eating. I'm not someone who's just going to paint the walls and, you know, bring chairs and tables from the store and call it a day. I feel like I want to curate the experience rather than just, you know, cook good food, because the interior is what brings people in and the food is what keeps bringing them in again and again. So, but there's this common misconception that, oh my God, the owner spends so much on the interior, they don't really care about the food. And that does happen. Inconsistencies do happen in the restaurant industry. So one bad experience doesn't mean that the whole menu is bad. Restaurants can always have off days, but we always try to give them good food, good service, and, you know, a beautiful space to hang out and feel like they are transported to Italy if, you know, they're dining at Evviva.
Right. So most restaurants don't fail because of food. What do they fail from?
I believe the lack of outreach, marketing. They fail because people don't know that their food is good. No matter how good of a food you're serving, the quality is great. You need to put the word out there. You need to spend on marketing. You need to call bloggers, influencers, whatever it needs to be, to let people know that you're open and your food is great. I think it's marketing, but then also it has to be very strategic.
Understood. I mean, okay, so what's the biggest lie restaurant owners tell themselves before starting a restaurant?
It's the biggest lie. That it's easy. I think a lot of restaurant owners, especially the ones that do not have a background in restaurant industry, they really think that doing restaurants is the easiest job. It's very glamorous, it's going to be a walk in the park because it's just cooking, you cook every day at home, how hard it is to cook for hundreds of people. So, and they really don't think there are systems in place. A lot of owners just think that they can cook good food, have a good interior, and it's going to run and they're going to make money. But you need systems in place. You need good management. You need good staff. So I think that's where they lie to themselves that it's all going to work out. But you need to put in the work to make it work out.
All right. So what's the fastest way to destroy a good restaurant?
Rats. Fastest way to destroy a good restaurant. I think anything. I think if I really think about compliance is a big one. Lately, what is happening in Bangladesh is that a lot of restaurants are not operating in commercial spaces, and really big restaurants have been shut down. Izumi is closed. It was on the news. They're one of the big restaurants, and the plenty others I can name. They're not fire compliant, or they're not in the right place where they're supposed to be. Say they're operating out of a residential unit, or they're not in a space that is zoned for restaurants, that is meant for restaurants. So I think that's the biggest thing. If you're not compliant, if you're not sure that you have all the licenses or not, I think that would kill a really good restaurant really soon. But yeah, it's difficult to also be fully compliant, where in a country especially where you can pay for compliance without being compliant.
Right. Let's not get into that. Okay, so would you rather be empty and profitable or busy and broke?
I think busy and broke. I'd rather be busy and broke because when you're empty, you're not making profit. I don't know how you're going to make profit when you're empty. By doing small, bigger volume ticket?
Yeah,
Or bigger, higher ticket?
Yeah, higher AOV meals, someone like Izumi or the Korean barbecues, as soon a couple sitting there would be minimum 10 to 15K, right?
I mean, it depends because I like a place with high velocity. I like, that things are moving fast. That way you're ensuring good quality as well because you're prepping almost every day and nothing basically gets frozen, nothing gets stored overnight or, for 3-4 days. So I believe when you have such a high volume restaurant, you're always on the go. You're not making mistakes, especially, you're doing something over and over again. So there's less room for error. But when you're making maybe 2 steaks a night, there are chances that, one of the steaks can be overcooked or undercooked. And not, you might not have the practice or your staff might not have the practice in doing that over and over again.
All right. So from your menu, name one menu item you delete tomorrow, even if customers love it.
I think the truffle burrata pasta, I would. It's not my most favorite dish, but customers love it. They love how creamy, truffly that pasta is. But rather than deleting it, I want to improve it, make it better. But I feel I might also get these people who are oh, it doesn't taste like it used to. So instead of making it better, it might backfire. So I'm keeping it as is for now.
Yeah, okay. So what's the dumbest growth expense restaurants justify?
Dumbest?
PR, influencer invites, renovations.
Yeah, influencers
delivery
for
promos.
sure. I think influencers for sure because lately influencers have been charging an enormous amount. They're equivalent to influencers charging, in US dollars, basically. Especially for restaurants, that high of an amount doesn't make sense. I'm not sure if the restaurants are going to get that ROI when they're spending, say, $400 on one influencer. And I think that money could be better spent on improving their food, improving, their photos. They can, rather spend that money on a good photographer and like get more content that they can keep pumping and, they can boost. Also, that $400 can go a long way. You can do like 4 months of boosting. $100 goes better than like that one influencer coming saying the food is great. Because also a lot of people don't trust influencers who are getting paid to review. There's the stigma that, oh, they're getting paid, they're going to say it's great, of course. So I don't believe in spending on influencer marketing. I appreciate if influencers do come and dine at Evviva or any of our restaurants. I'll comp their meal if there's someone I feel like can help us, get the word out, help us with like more views and reach. But paying them on top of the free meal, I don't believe in that.
So what would you spend on instead of influencers if you wanted results in 30 days?
I would first of all hire someone who can do my customer query, who's just their job is just to be online and respond to guests or do guest outreach. So basically, if they have a database, message them personally and not make it seem AI or robotic, but a bit more personalized with their first name and, with just a very casual like greeting that, hey, we've launched a new menu or whatever the campaign is. Like, message them personally one-on-one rather than like make a post which people are going to scroll through, I guess. So I would do that first of all. Then I would also try to do a few more. I would try to do casual content that I've been seeing is popping a lot on TikTok, Instagram, everywhere. Employee generated content, which, you're already paying for the employees. If they are just there without anything to do, you can give them some ideas that, hey, you guys create the content. Let's see how it goes. Even if it's not the best production, sometimes these content really are liked by the audience. So I would do those two. And then another thing that would be is work around the holidays. Say if there's a National Pizza Day, like do something around those food holidays. Do a offer for Lasagna Day, whatever. Yeah, those three things.
Okay. So what's one thing owners brag about that makes investors quietly nervous?
I think what I have seen owners, of course, bragging about their sales, which is always not the case. But there's two things. In Bangladesh, I've seen people not brag about their sales because people believe in the evil eye a lot. So even if their sales are like, upwards of like lakhs, they will be like, oh, we're doing okay. They will downplay that because of that belief. But then in Canada and like elsewhere, I have seen, people like say more than what they actually make. Like even places where I worked, I knew what the sales were, but then they would talk to investors and they would inflate the sales in hopes of getting an investor on board, or brag about how the restaurant's not going to run without them, or like it's because of them that these sales are there, so forth and so on.
Okay, here. So name a restaurant flex that's actually a red flag.
I'm thinking of restaurants. You know what's a red flag? When they have a really good-looking chef and they do these thirst trap videos. Or the chef is the owner and like he does like these, thirst trap videos. Those are so cringy. Like I don't know if that generates any income. Maybe it generates views, but people have told me to do these and I'm like, no, ew. It's going to generate like the wrong crowd.
Good thing I muted myself.
You know which ones I'm talking about, right? I'm pretty sure you've seen them. I don't know if maybe it only comes on my feed because I'm a girl. Like, I don't know.
No, I get some of them as well.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Like where the chefs are shirtless or they're not wearing a chef coat, like they're just wearing an apron and they're okay, girl. okay, boy. And then there's this another Italian girl. She's really cute, but she's always making pizza with her hair like this long and open. So I'm like, okay, there's definitely hair on that pizza. But,
Yeah, right. Ugh, that can be. I mean, a thirst trap. They're looking at it from like hook. They're trying to hook people in, and then about the food secondary. It's anything to stand out. Like, I mean, sure, they're
Yeah.
using themselves as a thirst trap.
Yeah.
Call it a bop. Okay, so what's the most dangerous phrase a restaurant owner can say?
That they claiming that they're the best. I think that's really dangerous because people are gonna come after you, asking you, like what makes you the best. Like never say you're the best or never say you're number one ranked or like back it up with something, I guess.
Care to clarify?
I mean, you can be best according to your mom. like, but what makes you best? I think if you don't have a backing up for that, then just don't say it out loud, I guess. And if
So
you do, at least say that, yeah, according to my mom or like, according to me, I'm the best. Like, have an answer.
Right. I get that. So, I mean, best according to, some actual, like numbers or the ingredients are used.
Because the recent conversation that I saw between two restaurateurs is someone claimed to be the best. And it's fine for content, you can call yourself the best, but I don't know why someone else had to question it. I found it like, okay, just scroll past it, right? But yeah. Like, I would never like question someone like, hey, why are you calling yourself the best? Like, I'm like, oh, hey, they think they're the best. Great, we're all the best, Yeah. But it went back and forth about why you're the best, how many pizzas do you make per day, blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, guys, just hug it out. He'll understand. He gets social media. I think the other person doesn't get social media. They're a bit more like millennial. I think even boomer. Because, okay. Like he's more of like a keyboard warrior, which you can actually say. He's always on different forums promoting his own brands, which I actually started doing that. But it works. It actually works. When you're active on these forums, they're like, oh my God, the owner is so active. Like, great.
Yeah. So, which customer is the most expensive? Like the discount hunters, the VIPs, or the food critics?
The most expensive. I think the food critics, because they want to try everything. They will eat everything. They will give you the honest feedback or not, or maybe they'll type it somewhere or post it online. But the food critique, especially, like if there's someone that is well known as like a thought leader or like someone who dines out a lot, them saying anything bad about your food will, of course, like even the ones that were looking forward to dining at your restaurant might be like, oh, you know what, so and so person said it wasn't a great experience, so you know what, let's not go there. And I've seen that happen a lot. Not in my case, but in other people's cases where someone wrote something negative and they're like, oh, I wanted to go there. Thank you for like, telling me the food was bad or service was bad. I'm not going to go there. So
let's move into another segment, like the team building and the people and the culture, right? So like how to build a team when there's no culinary school and everyone wants to quit, right? Around that. So what's your red flag when hiring restaurant staff?
I think hygiene, of course. Like I look at them first when they come for an interview, if they're well groomed, if their nails are like, well maintained, how they've presented themselves at an interview. I think that is the most important. If you are not at your best on your interview day, then are you really going to give your best every day at the restaurant? So definitely hygiene is the most important.
Okay, so how do you know when it's time to fire someone?
Oh, I'm the worst at firing someone. So lately I have given that task to my, manager, HR department, you can call it, where punctuality is a big one. That's the thing that most people get fired for these days at my restaurant over here. Punctuality, or even like lying, especially when they say, oh, my dad is sick, and then we find out, no, the dad was not sick. Or stuff like that. So I think that and reliability. I really appreciate reliable people where I don't have to tell them a task like, oh, do this 3 times, which happens a lot. Like if I tell them, hey, get this done, they're going to get it done without me having to repeat it again.
So more on like staff and hiring. So how do you train someone who's never seen half your ingredients?
So we make them see all the ingredients. We make them taste everything. The way we do training, I think most people do it that way as well, is any new staff gets onboarded, they will, of course, have a look at everything. Our kitchen is open, so they also see the chefs preparing the dishes. And I always tell them, no question is stupid. Do not feel guilty asking something. If you want to ask something, just ask away. And if you're curious about like what does it taste like, don't hesitate. Even if it's like a super expensive ingredient like caviar, I want them to taste it so they can at least explain it back to the guests. So my staff, I think they've tasted everything from truffle oil to, I've made them taste bad olive oil and good olive oil, and I made them smell it. So it's very important that they do that. Unless they have dietary restrictions, I don't really force it upon them.
All right. So how do you deal with toxic high performers?
I don't have too many toxic high performance. I just give them more tasks. So I'm like, you know what? You want to be a high performer? Let me keep you busy at something very mundane, like emailing like 400 people or something like that, where, they're busy. Or I will tell them that, hey, I want to change the SOP or something. I'll give them something that will keep them busy, something that will make them also feel important, that, okay, you know what? I'm important, and this is needed for the restaurant, say inventory or like costing, whatever it is. I'll give them some task. If I want them off the floor, if they're intimidating other staff, I will change their work schedule. They'll close instead of open, whatever, like that.
Right. Let's move on to another segment around like how to make sure your restaurant isn't empty, like after the honeymoon phase, right? So marketing and systems. It actually brought in your first 100 paying customers.
Influencer, actually. But right, I'll be very honest, like when I did open Evviva, I think the situation in the country was very different. People were a bit more optimistic. People had a bit more disposable income. Cost of goods were slightly, I would say like way lower, 30-40% lower. And we didn't have any political issues going on. So people had their, spirits up high as well. So, and good restaurants were like slowly emerging, I would say. So people were craving unique experiences. So that really helped me. The 99-layer lasagna, like no one had heard of it over here. So when I posted on my story, one of the food bloggers had seen it from my story, or maybe Evviva's story, I'm not sure. But she was just growing then. She had like under 10,000 followers back then. And she was one of the first ones who came with her husband for an anniversary dinner, or lunch, actually brunch. And they did a cute TikTok. It blew up on TikTok. It blew up on TikTok mainly, yeah. And then a few other bloggers saw it and they were like, oh, beautiful interior. Never seen something like that in Bangladesh. Open kitchen, a very open, the concept of the seats are also very open. Like they're not booth style, like, Bangladesh is used to. So that was nice. And then we got a few more YouTubers and bloggers just automatically come. And we were busy for, I would say, a good 6 months. Like, we had a great honeymoon phase.
Ah, great, right. So, but if you lost your Instagram tomorrow, how would you fill the restaurant?
So like Instagram completely wipes out, or just my Instagram?
Yeah, like I mean, it shuts down from time to time, right? Like Instagram, TikTok. I mean, sometimes even countries even ban them from time to time. So how do you prepare yourself to get around that?
Oh, then we go like backwards in time, and we'll have to do print media. We'll have to do SMS marketing. We'll probably start calling the customer database, saying that we have so-and-so offer going on, whatever, just start telling them if we have an exciting new dish, new menu, whatever. So we will go like backwards in time, put out a banner, hand out flyers, go corporate as well, like reach out to banks and offices with, our menus, and try to get events rolling. That makes a lot of money, I would say.
Yeah. So what's one marketing move that gave you the biggest spike in bookings?
Matcha. For some reason, this was when matcha was not even that popular. This was 2 years ago. Like, matcha did get popular this year, but this was like 2 years, 2.5 years, I would say. This is my first brunch menu I launched. And I was like, oh, I just don't want to do brunch. Let me launch matcha. And I did like 7 or 8 different matcha drinks. I put it on my menu. And I'm like, I was very hesitant at first. I was like, matcha is not even Italian, but it looks good. It's Instagrammable. And I had a very bad experience drinking matcha somewhere. And that triggered me to like really bring good matcha over here. So I did that, and yeah, that was nonstop. Like, even today, people keep asking us, oh, is your matcha back? Do you have matcha on your new menu? And people love our matcha. So glad that worked.
Interesting. So, do you think restaurants should pay influencers or never?
I wouldn't say never say never, but I would say be very selective of which influencer you're paying, and really look at their analytics, really look at their quality of their followers. Even if you want to know their insights, I think influencers need to be very transparent. There's a lot of influencers who have fake followers, or they buy their followers, and it's not always the followers from the country that they are trying to target. So it's very important that they're aware where the certain influencers following is coming from. So yeah, pay, but be selective and picky.
Right. So how do you turn first-time customers into repeat customers?
Serving good food, hopefully. I think following up, I mean, service is one of the main, part. If they have even if the food is, say, not the best, but then we made them feel welcome, that we made them feel heard. For example, I just had a customer over here right now that didn't have the best experience, didn't have the best pizza. They've had it in our old location, but they said the pizza wasn't, like the ones they had before. So I comped the whole pizza, gave them a complimentary dessert. They were very appreciative of it. They wanted to pay for the pizza, but if I had made them pay for the pizza, maybe they'll never come back. But now that I've comped the pizza, they're going to give me another chance and come back, try the pizza again, give me another honest feedback. And that's how I don't lose customers.
Oh, well, I mean, that's a good tactic, right?
Yeah.
So how do you handle bad reviews?
I cry. I cry. If it comes on my Instagram, I actually block that person. Really. Like, I will block that person. Someone said ew, just ew. They just said ew on like my food, and I just went and blocked them. So I don't need this negativity on my Instagram or my Facebook. From where I can block them, I block them. But Google reviews, I can't delete them. I can't block them. I just respond saying, hey, I would like to give you another chance to I would like to make things better and give you another, give us another chance. Something like that I would write up, and I would give them our email address and our phone number. Please call us on this number. ask for so-and-so manager and we will love to, make the situation better and give you a better experience. Most people don't really call back because they're like, oh, we wrote a bad review. We're not going to ask for a free meal or call and get a free meal. But whenever we do get someone call us back, we make sure that they get the best experience, fully comped. And then if they want to, they delete that.
Right. I mean, what we did with one of the restaurants is we took all the bad reviews. We turned the reviews into content. So we went on Google reviews. Anyone that gave the restaurant a 1-star, we quote tweeting, or like you quote it and you create a video from it. Yeah. So their quote would be there with the 1-star review, and then we would make like a dance video underneath it. It's like, oh, the dance video was trying to say is like we were too busy dancing in the kitchen to pay attention to the food. So we were like trolling them.
Oh my God.
Those kind of blew up.
Maybe I should do that. Not bad. Most of my bad comments are like overpriced. Like, they call it overpriced. And I'm like, start earning more money. That's all. That's what I want to actually type. Then start earning more.
Money. I mean, no, then the reply to that would be like, just create a video of like, oh, this is how much everything costs. Like, oh, here's the cost breakdown of the pizza that you just ate.
Yeah.
Like replying, I mean, I think that works well in a way. Okay, so what's the cheapest marketing move that works surprisingly well?
Cheapest marketing move? I think boosting really works well, and it's pretty cheap. Like sometimes $10 you can get like 10 new customers. So like $1 spent, you get like a customer that's spending like $30. That's great. Like it depends on the content as well, right? The call to action has to be right. The targeting has to be right. So it all depends on how many people are actually putting ads, how many people you're competing for ad space. So timing.
If you had to double your revenue in 12 months, what would you do?
Oh. Double my revenue.
Through marketing.
Just revenue, right? Maybe I'll have to like put in like a discount, maybe eat like, take a hit on the profit, but offer a discount, because people love discounts. When they hear that there's 25% off, they're like, whoa. But then that 25% is coming from somewhere. It's either like someone's getting fired, or, I'm decreasing the quantity of cheese, or my profits are getting eaten up. So, but then once that is done, it brings people in. Sometimes, it does double your income in a short time. Yeah.
Let's move on to like some of the challenges and pivots you had to make, like through crisis management, right? So what was the closest Evviva has come to shutting down?
And I did want to shut it down. It was this close to shutting it down. But then the whole, like, my content also blew up, and there were a lot of like people, investors interested in helping Evviva stay alive, relocate it. And I'm super grateful that it hasn't shut down. But I do sometimes question it, like, what would have happened if I did shut it down? And there were multiple reasons for it to shut down. I think our location was an issue. Parking was an issue. The building itself was hard to access. Traffic had increased. So people who wanted to come would always think, like, do I really want to be there on standstill traffic for almost 30 minutes to go eat pizza and pasta? Or should I go somewhere close by to eat pizza and pasta? So like we were this close to shutting it down. And hopefully this new location, people do come. We have parking and ease of access. We'll see. Time will tell.
Right. So describe the worst day you've ever had running Evviva.
There's so many. I think it's always really chaotic during Eid. And I appreciate everyone like coming on these big festivals, Eid, Christmas, holidays, where everyone does get a break from their work. And it's not worse, but it's like, it gets really, there's more room for like errors when there's so many people waiting to be seated. And we didn't have a proper seating area or proper waiting area in our last restaurant. So people would stand next to a table that was almost done. So that would give, that's a bit awkward, right? Like it's not a Bangla restaurant where I'm like, okay, this table's done. Before cleaning it, I'm going to seat the other guest. But then the guests would be like, okay, you know what? We're going to sit. You can clean afterward. So the flow that I want would get hampered. Of course, the quality of service that I want would be ruined. So those days I'd be like, oh my God, I don't want these many people to come. I just want to shut the door down and handle whoever's inside and then figure out about the others who are waiting. So those days are really very hectic.
Right. So what's one mistake that almost killed your restaurant financially?
Oh, the pizza oven. The first one that I built, that was financially a disaster because we were consuming so much gas, so much wood. My cost of pizzas were, I was literally making no money on pizza because the oven itself, to retain the heat, we would have to continuously keep giving it assistance from gas and wood. And it was built this way. So it didn't have a dome. So the heat wouldn't get trapped inside. Rather, it would just go up. It would just all escape. So it took me a few months to realize that it was really killing my sales. So I shut it down for 7 days. The pizza oven got redone. So we broke the top part. We made a dome. And yeah, 7 months of no pizza was better than having 7 more months of I don't know, loss.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so, okay, from that experience, have you ever seriously thought maybe I should just quit this restaurant thing?
Every day. I'm like, why am I doing this? For example, today, everyone's out and about. It's Victory Day. It's a holiday. And I'm like, it should be a holiday for me as well. But no. So I feel bad on holidays when I am working and our holidays are completely opposite. We are free on Monday and Tuesdays and people are free on the weekends and they're like, hey, what's the plan? I'm like, yeah, I'm working. That's the plan. And I feel terrible that on Eid and these longer longer breaks, people are traveling and I'm here working.
Here doing this fucking podcast.
Yeah.
Homemade.
No, keep it.
That just makes me look bad. Taking away your restaurant days.
Yeah. Because I think, it's easy to predict now when I'm going to be able to take a vacation. So, but.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you know if you should fix the restaurant or pivot the concept?
I'm always pivoting though. I think that's the thing. The concept stays the same, but you keep pivoting, you keep bringing in new and exciting things. I think people love novelty in this country everywhere. People want something new that they have not seen before. And those dishes do the best, that according to the data I have. The dishes that I thought, okay, you know what, it's never been seen before or never been done before. Let me do it. Let's see how the response is. Those dishes get the best response. So I'm always thinking, I'm always wearing my creative hat and trying to invent something new. It might not be the most authentic dish, and I don't call myself the most authentic Italian restaurant. I do keep the traditions alive. The core of Italian food, where it's fresh, handmade, those are alive, but I also try to incorporate the new generation of ingredients and creativity. So, yeah.
Right. So if a restaurant owner listening right now is in deep trouble, what's your 30-day survival plan for them?
Hire me. I will give you a 30-day survival plan. It costs money. Nothing is free. Hire a consultant. If you're not aware of, if you're a garments owner and you're doing restaurants, then hire someone who does restaurants, I guess. But, okay, 30-day survival plan. It depends. If their food is shit, they need to fix that first. It's restaurant basis. It's not, I don't think there's a plan that will fit all restaurants. So It depends on what their issue is. Were they ever profitable? Like, see their data, like why were they profitable and what month was their best month, and what dishes were ordered the most, all that. I would go through the data and ask them to compile the data in a graph format or a pie chart, whatever, in a more easy to like visualize format, and then they will have the answers themselves.
Let's move into the segment of more about you and like your reflections and advice that you can give, right? So if you're thinking of opening a restaurant, like you should watch this part twice kind of situation. So if your younger self said, I want to open a restaurant, what would you tell her now?
If my work at as many restaurants as you can. I still to this day feel like I haven't worked at enough restaurants. I'm limited to only Italian restaurants and a couple Indian restaurants and a couple fast casual restaurant salad bars. But I feel like there's so much more I could have learned, and I should probably go and learn. Every country is different. Every restaurant operates differently. Every group of companies or whatever it is, every chef also operates differently. So if you're keen on pastry, go work at a really high-paced bakery, or like, work with a pastry chef. If you're keen on Italian food, of course, go work at an Italian restaurant. I think it's really important to gather the knowledge like practically, like by training, by cutting your finger, by chopping like things you were not supposed to chop, burning yourself. Like make mistakes, and make mistakes on someone else's expense rather than on your own expense. Like you're opening a restaurant, anything any risk you're taking, it's ultimately going to come on you. But if you're working for someone, say you messed up a dish, you burned the croutons, it's fine. You're going to get some yelling and you're going to make another batch of croutons. It's fine. So it's very important to continue working. I still to the day feel like, okay, you know what? I want to take a year off and go work for someone. I'm not doing it. But yeah. And work every field. I would say, like, don't just stick to, if you're a restaurant owner and if you want to be an owner, don't just stick to back of house. Also work the front, also work the management level so that you know ins and out of what it takes to run a restaurant. Do you think I should work? I should go to Bangkok, maybe take a 5-year visa that they give.
Yeah, they give you the entrepreneur. Yeah, they have an entrepreneur visa or something.
Yeah, but I can't work on an entrepreneur visa. I can only do business, I think, right? I guess. I'm not sure. I have to figure out. But like, yeah, there's a 5-year visa that they give. Or I can even get a work permit. The only place I can think of right now is like, I would like to work in Bangkok or like Thailand. Well, mostly Bangkok because they have the most number of restaurants.
Yeah, I'd suggest Singapore, but sure.
Singapore? Okay.
Because there's the level, like the caliber of restaurants is that much higher. Because the failure rate is so fucking high that everyone better and bigger keeps coming in. Do you get what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There are big guys that are opening there, but they're failing and leaving. Then another bigger guy comes and tries to attempt the same thing. But it's like competition breeds excellence, kind of. Like it has 3 Michelin star restaurants. That's already a lot. And I think they have 6 2-stars.
Yeah, for a country that small.
Yeah, for a country that small. I mean, they have like over 5,000 restaurants, but like the competition is really high there.
Yeah.
So if you really, when I got into restaurants, the only thing I did was only work at fine dining restaurants. Michelin wasn't there when I first joined, but the only thing I could do is find the highest rated restaurants in the country and work for them. Like I staged at Les Amis. They have 3 stars now. I did Gunther's, I did Andre's, which has 2 stars.
Yeah.
But then, sure, 53 didn't have any stars or anything. But like the head chef at 53 was the former head chef at Noma. And my immediate head chef, my mentor, he was the head pastry chef at Fat Duck. So learning under these guys can really add on to your pedigree.
Yeah.
My suggestion is Singapore. But
I was leaning towards like Southeast Asia itself. Southeast Asia, yeah, basically Bangkok, Singapore, or Malaysia. These three. But yeah,
Malaysia,
I don't
man,
want to just
because
really
it's
why man.
halal. No, that's a
So
big no, but that's a big point. Like in no
um,
wine, no alcohol cooking, no pork,
but
no
then you're
outside.
doing the same thing in Bangladesh. I'm not doing any like non-halal cooking. So if I'm going to like do a
As
great
in
restaurant in Bangladesh, I would rather work at somewhere similar.
no, but that like deters the high level chefs from opening the
True.
restaurants there.
True. Yeah. Like certain ingredients are like,
Cannot.
barred. Yeah.
Yeah.
But are everything halal there? Like even they don't have
Yeah.
prosciutto?
100%. It's a Muslim country.
I thought it's a secular country.
Nope.
Wow.
100% Muslim, like hardcore Muslim. Like, yeah.
I see.
Everything you eat has a halal sign.
Go to Malaysia and eat like pepperoni pizza.
Not pork pepperoni. Right. Okay. So, what's one hard truth about owning a restaurant that nobody told you?
You're gonna lose a lot of sleep. I mean, a lot of people do say that, but it's the reality. It seems all glamorous. A lot of people think you can make money easily, but there's so much people don't account for: the wastage, the days when it's slow, and then the months that you have to pull profits from another month. It's a roller coaster ride. It's not always consistent. It's very hard to predict, unless you're, I think, it's easy to predict in certain countries, I would say, where the trends don't really change. But yeah, it's very hard to predict, and your staff will always they'll always not be there same. You're gonna have a high turnover, and you always continue to train over and over again. So I think it's very important to solidify the training. You have the system before they get on the floor. They know exactly what is expected, so they don't get dumbfounded by a question that a guest asked. So, yeah, it's a lot of paperwork. A lot of paperwork. A lot of people think it's only cooking, but it's a lot of paperwork.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Especially in Bangladesh, I'm sure it's extreme. Even
Yeah.
stuff you don't need.
Yeah.
Right. So, what are 3 questions you must be able to answer before opening a restaurant?
Why, where, and how? These 3 questions, like why do you want to do it? Ask yourself that. And where do you want to open it? Because location matters the most. And then the process, how you're going to do it. Like, figure those 3 out.
That was a good answer.
Thank you. Because a lot of people just think that, they make the best smash burgers and they're just going to sell the best smash burger, but they don't really think about the 5-year plan. Okay, yeah, I'm done selling the best smash burger. Where now? What now? What's next? So it's great to have, I think, a big overview, like a bigger picture, rather than thinking of small term goals.
Yeah. So, what do you think mattered at the beginning that actually doesn't matter much at all?
In the beginning, I mean, before people get to know you, people know your story, of course, how you present yourself, the aesthetics matter. But I think as people will get to know me, and I'll have a name for myself in this restaurant industry, I don't think where you open, what you open, the interiors, the aesthetic of it matters a lot. Even the location wouldn't matter then, because then you will have this crowd following you wherever you go. But in the beginning, definitely how I presented myself mattered a lot to me, because I was new in this country, nobody knew me. So I really focused on, okay, everything has to be perfect. Even this time I am focusing, because I don't know why. I still feel like 3 years is not enough. There's still so many people who don't know me, and I still want to be known for being a restaurateur.
So, what's one decision that made the biggest positive difference to Evviva's success?
I think changing the location, it's definitely going to be positive. I believe so. I think everyone who has come to this new location so far has said that, oh, great location. We have a balcony where you can, go have a cigarette outside if you're into smoking. We have ample amount of parking. We did have limited parking in the other one, but it was very steep. People didn't really want to park there even if there was parking available. This one is a bit more of a commercial, bigger building with ample amount of parking, and it's literally on the main road. So ease of access. So that's definitely, I'm hoping and I believe it's going to be positive on the long run as people get to know about us being open as we launch our full menu.
So what does success for Evviva look like to you now? And has that definition changed?
The definition. I think, yeah. Initially, I wanted people to know me, wanted people to recognize me. Lately, I have become a bit more private, I would say. And I get really awkward when people recognize me on the street and they're like, oh, hey, can I take a picture with you? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not a celebrity. I get that imposter syndrome. And especially when I do events outside, I love doing events. But when little girls come up to me and they're like, oh, I want to be like you when I grow up, I just feel like, oh my God, this is a big responsibility on me. I wanted to be famous. Now that somewhat famous, I am not been able to take it very positively. Rather than I wanting to be famous, I want my brands to be famous. So I think that has changed. I was chasing clout for myself, and now I want my restaurants to do better than me.
So what's the single best piece of advice you can give to someone about opening their first restaurant in an emerging market?
Best piece of it in an emerging market. The best advice I would definitely give them is like to have their cash flow ready, because money will solve a lot of your problems. I would say like 90% of your problems are solved with having enough money. I do get a lot of people who come to me that, hey, I have this much money saved up and I want to open a restaurant. I want to, do a food cart. And I really, with a really sad heart, I'm like, no, do not put all your savings into something that has a high rate of failure. Like, be sure, first of all, that, it's going to do well. I have seen so many restaurants or so many food carts, smaller, food vendors who invest in equipment and a space and, hiring and launching their brand to eventually run out of that cash flow. Because when you don't have, say, you need to have a whole year of cash flow for your rent, your staff, your raw ingredients, because you have to assume that you might be in a loss. So when it comes to overcoming that loss, the only thing that will solve your problem is cash. So don't think that your saving will generate income. And it might. There's always brands that do really well with minimum effort, but don't take that risk unless you know it's worth it.
And in 10 years, how do you want people to talk about Evviva?
I don't know. Talk about in 10 years. Whoa. I think Evviva will be we'll have multiple branches. I hope it becomes the next Pizzaburg. No, I don't know. Honestly, I don't think it.
Or like Star
10
Kebab.
years.
That's a good one.
Star
That's a good
Kebab.
that's a good legacy brand.
It is, maybe. But I do believe every restaurant has a lifetime. No restaurant needs to be open for 25, 30 years. I just feel like people move on, especially with the younger generation, or especially with this mature palate. They're always looking for something new. If you're not changing your menu often or rebranding yourself, then it's better to shut down and just, start something fresh with a new name. That's better than doing the same thing over and over again. And I always told everyone that Evviva is not a forever brand. I am giving it 5 years. 3 years is up, so you guys only have 2 more years. So I might do another Italian brand. Maybe I'll go north of Italy. Right now I'm doing south. So I might just not keep Evviva alive. Maybe I will rebrand to something else. In 10 years in Bangladesh, or in general, globally, where do you see like what the next generation of, say, like Gen Alpha, what do you
is
think?
doing? They're very
Yeah.
short. They have a very short attention span. So I think, I mean, we did an episode like earlier about the death of fine dining, right? So but like Gen Alpha, they have a very short attention span. They're not going to be able to sit through the 13, 18 course meals. So like whatever this concept of, I'm just talking about fine dining as a whole, concepts need to evolve outside of brick and mortar. I mean, that's in the next 10 years. It's moving towards experiential stuff and more community stuff. It'll be much smaller in very niche spaces. That's how I feel like it'll. Yeah, it's less. I feel like it'll be less brick and mortar. If you understand if you get what I mean. Like people will drive less to a location to enjoy the meal.
So do you think it'll be more like pop-up generated, like, hey, a dinner here, a dinner there, and then mobile, like, you know?
Yeah,
restaurants will be moving,
like random things in random spaces and random places, not in the same location, not in one spot. Evolutions, I mean, with especially with fine dining is a lot different. But the Gen Alpha mindset, I don't know how to get around that.
But I feel like as like the Gen Z also grows older and their palates mature and then they earn more money, do you not think that they are going to be the next generation of fine diners? You go to a Michelin star restaurant, it's a lot of boomers for sure. But eventually us millennials are going to get old. And yeah.
The nostalgia and the feeling around what fine dining, well, I'm just talking about fine dining, not QSRs, not McDonald's. Love McDonald's, but not them. But like fine dining is an experience. We grew up with our parents taking us to these experiences, right? I don't know about Gen Z doing the same now for their kids. So their kids won't know what it feels like, like a Christmas dinner at one of these upscale restaurants feels like. So the experience moves away. That's what, generation by generation, what the boomers felt, but it kept degrading every generation. It just keeps degrading because of the attention span. So now the Gen Zers and Gen Alphas, they don't appreciate sitting for 2.5, 3 hours to eat a meal.
So do you think delivery food is going to get more finer?
I don't know about delivery food. I think more or less of like longer menus and more of like the TikTokification of like, oh, this is trending now, eat now, like shorter time spans of food. Like there will be pizza, but there will be like other variations of pizza for small periods of time, just to keep their attention going. This is a rabbit hole of
only time will tell, I guess.
Yeah, I'm talking about it from like extreme side of like people less interested today in getting stars. Gen Alpha majority won't go into culinary. That's what I feel like. So them chasing stars is not a dream. It's only the dream of like millennials and above. I don't even think the Gen Zers are chasing stars. They just want to create an experience with their community. They don't understand what stars are. That's the difference. Because we were drilled, like the whole concept of fine dining and Michelin stars was drilled into us as a kid. Like, oh, this is the experience that you should. It's an experience that you should enjoy, not just like, oh, eat and fuck off. That's the Gen Alpha. Eat and fuck off.
Yeah. So also hard work, right? I feel like Gen Z really doesn't appreciate that 16, 17-hour day of working, especially when they can see that there are like Instagram chefs who are making more money by just creating content. So I think it puts them in a dilemma that, hey, why am I spending 16 hours at a Michelin star restaurant where I can be creating content, like really good content, and making like doing private dinners.
I mean, and that's what they're doing. That's what's been happening past couple of years. Is like these random nobodies out of nobodies who maybe went to culinary school, who maybe worked at a restaurant. They're good at talking. They're good in front of the camera. They blow up on TikTok and they're making good money. and a lot more money than chefs do. Like chefs
Yeah.
don't earn peanuts. So now a content creator will earn 10 times as much.
Yeah. And then they get
So-
like free like products from companies that want, to be on their content.
Yeah, and they'll be invited to these dinners for free, and they want to understand like them paying like $400 or $500 for a meal. They don't have to anymore because now they're invited. So they don't experience the hard work that goes into earning the money to pay for that meal.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel like, especially with social media, like you're put on such a high pedestal, like way early on in life. Like you have a good amount of following and you can become a judge at like a cooking show or something. This is one thing that happened. There was this massive I think culinary competition happening in CN Tower, and I got invited to be a judge, and I was like, whoa. I only had like 10,000 followers then. And then I was like, these are kids who are my age. I just didn't go to culinary school and I'm judging their food. And like this guy comes up to me, ma'am, did you like my food? And I'm like, ma'am? So at that point, I felt like, oh, I don't deserve to judge this food because I'm just a food blogger. But you see this happen often. Like you see it happen on all these like cooking shows as well. You'll see a very pretty judge who
With a
maybe
lot of
owns a
followers.
restaurant. Yeah, with a lot of followers, or maybe her family owns a restaurant, but she's really not worked to become the judge.
Yeah. And it was great having you on. How can people find you?
I'm mostly active on Instagram, and you can always find me at Evviva or Bhumi or Layali. These are the 3 restaurants I'm going to be spending my time across. Right now, mostly Evviva because it's new. But if you want to reach out to me on socials, I'm active on Instagram at SERA. It's the same, I think, on Facebook. And yeah, come say
Okay,
hi to me if you see me.
Right. Okay. Well, that's the pod.